has ever seen have been inspired by real events. The infamous Ed Gein was the source of inspiration for Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, as well as the Texas Chainsaw Massacres, chainsaw-wielding, say that 10 times fast, Leatherface. The mysterious serial killer called the Monster of Florence was the basis for The Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter, and even this summer's hit, The Conjuring, what are we on now, like The Conjuring 3, recounts a true story of an out-of-hand haunting. The world is full of mysteries, murders, and deeply disturbing true stories. So, with Halloween just around the corner, here are 10 true stories that seem to be perfect for horror movie reimagination of their own. Admittedly, some of these have gotten some low-budget movie versions, but we think they deserve something a bit more substantial and deserving of their richly spooky roots. Number 1. H.H. Holmes. Often credited as America's first serial killer, Holmes's body count is thought to be somewhere between 27, the number he confessed to, and 200. How is such a thing possible? Well, the simple answer is that Holmes built a hotel in a bustling part of Chicago in the 1890s, and he designed it to be the perfect killing floor for his sick desires. Later named the Murder Castle, it was designed to be a maze of windowless rooms, making escape virtually impossible for those that he had chosen to trap. No one aside from Holmes knew the full layout of the place, as he repeatedly hired and fired new builders to construct this killing castle in portions. Some of the weirder attributes of this hotel were doors that were only able to be opened from the outside, doorways that opened to brick walls, a safe big enough to put a person inside to suffocate them, and a chute that allowed him to dump bodies from the upper floors straight to the basement, where 2 massive furnaces and large supplies of flesh-stripping acid were stored. I did cover that Sean did a long time ago. Some version of Holmes' story is said to be in development with Leonardo DiCaprio attached to it. Well, this was written in 2013, so. But while we wait for news that could be a project, let's imagine another. Typically, when it comes to serial killers, we don't center the film on them, but someone trying to escape them. For Holmes, this would likely be a young woman who'd come to work as his hotel. As was the case with many of the victims he confessed to killing, she could be in Chicago for the World's Fair, and her story of a small-town girl gone wrong in the big scary city goes dark as she tries to escape from the labyrinth murder castle. Whether she does or not would be up to the screenwriters, of course, but along the way she would learn the true depths of this respected entrepreneur's depravity. Yeah, that could be interesting. I would probably watch it. Oh, see, this article is out of date and I should have looked at it. The Winchester house. They did make a movie of this. As I mentioned in my last video, one of the strangest structures in the United States is the home of the late Sarah Winchester, the widow of gun magistrate William Winchester. I don't think your car is supposed to sound like that, dude. Anyway, Sarah believed the ghost created by her husband's Winchester rifles would come for vengeance, and to protect herself, she built a mansion in Northern California that was endlessly under construction for 36 years. It is said she believed that keeping it always in flux would ward off spirits who would do her harm, but the construction is nonsensical at best. There are windows that look into other portions of the home rather than outside. There are doors and stairwells that lead nowhere. All told, an estimated $75 million by today's rates was spent on the house, which has been a tourist attraction since 1923, 5 months after she died of heart failure at the age of 83. I'm not going to read you here are the key details. Earlier this year, a 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam was reported missing. Her body was later discovered by a maintenance worker in one of the rooftop water tanks of Los Angeles' Cecil Hotel, after guests complained about the water tasting funny. People found the above surveillance tape from the hotel's elevator, which may have been some of Elisa's final moments. You really have to watch it yourself to understand why it's given so many people the heebie-jeebies. And keep in mind, no sign of drug or alcohol use was discovered in her autopsy. Now, I covered the Elisa Lam case last year for Spooktober, and I think there's been some developments since then, but I'm not sure. The Silent Twins, June and Jennifer Gibbons, were British twin girls whose bond became somewhat ostracizing and dangerous as it drew them together, away from the world and into trouble. As children, they spoke their own language and rarely spoke to anyone else. But their love for each other sometimes curdled, resulting in one trying to murder the other, and vice versa. As they got older, they went on a crime spree of theft and arson that got them branded psychopaths. They were committed to Broadmoor Hospital for the criminally insane when they were just 14 years old. Later, they did finally begin to reach out to someone, a journalist, Marjorie Wallace. To her, they showed a remarkable self-awareness, admitting they could never be individuals as long as the other was alive. Jennifer told Wallace, "I'm going to die. We have decided." And as they were being transferred to a lower security facility that would give them more freedom, Jennifer did just that. Though it is said that she died of a heart condition, it's a pretty bizarre coincidence, to say the least. This is a case that I've considered covering, but the death in, I think it's pronounced Dyatlov Pass. My very, very first video is a case extremely similar to this. Alright, anyway, there's a passage in Russia's Ural Mountains that conditions are so harsh its nearby peak is called Dead Mountain because of the lack of wildlife. Why you'd want to go skiing in such a place is beyond me, but that's exactly what 9 ski hikers did February 1959, never to return. The eventual search party discovered a tent ripped in two and all of the group's belongings, including their shoes, left behind despite the deadly cold temperatures. Following a trail of shoeless footprints that led into the woods, they soon recovered 5 of the bodies, some of them in their underwear. The rest were found 2 months later when the spring thaw melted the snow that covered them. These were better clothed than the others, but unlike their friends, who were believed to died of hypothermia, this foursome had strange fatal injuries that included major skull trauma, chest fractures, and a missing tongue. The impact that could make this kind of damage is said to that of a high-speed car crash, which has inspired many wild theories. The disappearance of Belle Elmore. Belle Elmore was the stage name of aspiring opera singer Cora Crippen, the unhappy wife of homeopathic Dr. Holly Crippen. Sadly, her greatest fame was not achieved on the stage, but posthumously because of bizarre circumstances surrounding her death. Despite her popularity in London's theatrical community, the Crippens did little together but quarrel, often quite publicly. After a dispute at a party they'd thrown on January 31st, 1910, she went missing. Her husband insisted Cora had gone to California, but her friend, professional strongwoman Kate Williams, suspected foul play and went to Scotland Yard. Suspicion grew as Dr. Crippen invited his secretary, the pretty young Ethel Neve, to move in. She began wearing Cora's jewelry and mink coat. When Scotland Yard turned up to his home to investigate, he was gone. But the coppers discovered a dismembered torso in his cellar, and the chase was on. Crippen and a cross-dressing Neve were spotted on a ship headed to Canada, and quickly caught upon their arrival. I did not know anything about that case, and I would totally watch it. body, mistaken by some to be a witch elm, was the body of a young woman that the public took to calling Belladonna, or Bella. Her body was whole except for a hand found buried nearby. She's believed to have been killed roughly 18 months before, in October of 1941, and placed in the tree before rigor mortis set in. Taffeta wedged deep in her mouth suggested she was suffocated to death, possibly with her own dress. With World War II raging, there was little time to solve the mystery of this murdered girl. But Bella, while gone, was not forgotten. In 1944, graffiti appeared in Birmingham demanding, "Who put Bella down the witch elm? Hagley Wood." Variants on this phrase continued to appear. Even in 1999, the current location of her skeleton is unknown. I did cover that case as well, long ago. The most haunted house in America actually was not mentioned in my last video. It said, "This may well be cited as one of the inspirations for American Horror Story Murder House, as the goings-on within the walls of the Conglier Mansion are totally spine-tingling. Once located at 1129 Ride Avenue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the sprawling mansion began its bad history with the coming of Charles Wright Conglier, his wife Linda, and their servant girl Essie. The Conglier marriage was severed in the winter of 1871 when Linda caught Essie and Charles in flagrante delicto and responded by fatally stabbing him and decapitating her. This was just